The U.S. government is outlined in its Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. In the Constitution, it outlines three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. Each one of these three branches has a specific purpose and role in the federal government. The executive is run by the president and his cabinet. The judicial is run by the courts, with the Supreme Court being the highest court in the land, which is made up of 9 justices. And finally, the legislative branch are the lawmakers in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Each one of these branches is bound by a system of checks and balances to make sure one doesn't become more powerful than the other. Today, I would like to outline the function of the legislative branch. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution outlines the legislative branch of government. This article is made up of 10 different sections that give specifics as to how the legislature is to operate and its limits on power. The main function of the legislature is to write and pass bills into law, hence the nickname lawmakers. The legislative branch is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. There are 435 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate. The House is made up of representatives from various districts around the United States. Each state has representatives in the House based on their population. California has the most representatives with 53, and Wyoming has the least with 1. The Constitution does give each state equal representation in the Senate. There are 2 senators per state. This is to allow even the smallest states to have an equal voice in government, and to prevent bullying of the smaller states by the bigger states. The House of Representatives has a leader or a speaker. This Speaker of the House is elected by the representatives and is usually the senior person of the major party in control of the House at the time. Each representative is elected for a term of 2 years, and they do not have any term limits. There are other leaders within the House as well. The majority leader is chosen by the majority party to be their leader. The majority whip is a member of the majority party who is charged with going to other members of the House to whip up support for the party's interests. In contrast, the minority party also has leaders called the minority leader and also has a whip called the minority whip. Within the House of Representatives, there are various committees and subcommittees. These committees are charged with looking over specific areas of government, funding, and providing oversight in specific areas of government. For example, the House Foreign Affairs Committee. They would deal with anything pertaining to foreign affairs. Bills regarding foreign affairs would have to pass through this committee before progressing to the House floor to be voted on. Though the House can introduce any type of bill, all spending bills must originate in the House. The Senate is similar to the House. There are 100 members, and they also have a leader called the President pro tempore of the Senate. This is sort of like a Speaker of the Senate, and they have much of the same responsibilities as the Speaker of the House. The Vice President is the constitutionally mandated President of the Senate, but he has no voting privilege in the Senate unless the Senate is evenly divided. Then he must cast a tie-breaking vote. The Senate also has a majority and minority leader and a majority and minority whip. Each senator is elected to a term of 4 years, and they do not have any term limits either. The Senate also has various committees that provide specific oversight and deal with specific issues. In order for a bill or proposed law to pass the Congress, it must be approved by both houses. If a bill fails to pass one house, then the bill dies. A bill can be reintroduced or sent back to a committee to be revised before going back to a vote. A bill can be introduced by any senator or representative. Those who author a bill usually have co-authors who will help them write the bill, promote the bill, and to gain other backers before it goes to the full House. Bills are usually authored within committees, but not all the time. It's not a requirement to author bills either. Most bills must pass a committee to make it to the House floor for debate. This is done to reduce the amount of frivolous bills that might be introduced. Once a bill passes a committee, then it is then taken to the floor for debate. Once each side has their say, the bill is put to a vote. If the bill passes, then it is sent on to the other House of Congress to be debated. If the bill passes the second House of Congress, it is then sent to the President to be signed. If the President signs the bill, then it becomes law. The President, however, does not have to sign the bill. The President has veto powers and can veto a bill, which means that the bill will just be dead. The President also has the power to do what's called a line item veto. This means the President can veto specific parts or line items within a bill. The legislative branch was an innovation when it was created. The Founding Fathers, along with the rest of the world, have been ruled by kings, where a government ran by common citizens was a foreign concept. A legislature with powers to pass laws and an executive with limited power was the first of its kind. Our government spurred the rise of many democracies and the demise of many monarchs. Neither branch is more important than the other, but each branch is important to keep the other one running.